Fruits de Mer Records sounds like something you are more likely to discover in a seafood restaurant than your local record store. The first release on catalogue was in the heart of the New Jersey band Schizo Fun Addict. They made a version of 10 ones of the Graff Generator, and it sounded exactly the same in 2008 than it had been in '67. Andy Bracken and Keith Jones were the founders of Fruits de Mer Records back in 2008 year. In 2018, during the 10th anniversary, a new Pretties single, The Same Sun, was probably the best anniversary gift Jones could ever have envisioned. Fruits de Mer has a bit of a story when it comes to recreating albums from the 60s and 70s. The Hollies-Butterfly, the Pretty Things SF Sorrow, X first album, the Actions Rolled Gold, and during this year, 2024, the label released Rob Gould LP plays Nursery Cryme.
The gigs I look most forward to during this festival is Pinhdar, that will playing now soon tonight, and Custard Flux, which is on tomorrow, I think. I'm not quite sure, maybe the day after. And Man is not coming, but Groundhogs is nice too, as are Moon Goose, by the way. I used to buy plenty of records, lots of Sandelica, Pinhdar, Bevis Front, all kinds of Fruits de Mer special late cut singles and stuff. But recently I decided to stop buying records because there's simply not enough space in my house anymore. So if I buy more, I would have to buy a new house, and I like the house that I have now, so I'm not going to move.
Hi, I'm Keith from Fruits de Mer Records, and we help organise the 20th Dream of Dr. Sardonicus Festival, which is held here at the Cellar in Cardigan, just a few metres from Cardigan Castle. It's actually organised by the Sandelica band, Pete Bingham, sponsored by Record Collector magazine. It's a really small festival, but must be the friendliest festival in the world. We get 150 people every year, but we get some fantastic bands coming to play. This year, Ken Pustelnik's Groundhogs are playing, Astralasia are playing, Pinhdar have come over from Italy to play. The fertility Cult are here from Finland to play. In previous years, we've had people like the Bevis Front playing. It is a fantastic little festival that really punches its weight. We have a great time. We're sponsored by a local brewery, so we have a lot of fun that way as well. We try and sell some records, but most of all, we're here for some great music, some great live music in a lovely little setting near the coast in Wales. One day you really must come here, you'll love it.
Okay, humans, and we are
searching for a meaning of life. We keep on going, but we run further, behaving in the name of our Father. We know we'll vanish like a flower. Exploded, caves are skeleton, water soul, a river in flow. Under this molted bridge, rock plastic and so the clouds swollen with anger, they are black-eyed, and the boots tremble, fear in the wind and the sky. river bend, sinking moon, year after year, we'll be far away. So we will finally be able to talk about this eternally changing landscape. We're only humans between darkness and light. Going back, we went farther, behaving in the name of our Father. We know we'll vanish like a flower. We keep on going back, we went farther, behaving in the name of our Father. We know we'll vanish like a flower. Look at our soul within the little black eyes. Thank you.
We are Pinhdar. We come from Italy, Milan, exactly. But we are a band, well, very close to England for many reasons. In particular because Fruits de Mer is our label for the vinyl release, and today is our release day for the vinyl. So we are selling our CDs and the vinyl, and a special edition of the vinyl. The last our album that we recorded is called A Sparkle on the Dark Water. But we had another one before with Fruits de Mer that was parallel, and so we are very familiar with the situation because last year we played at the 19 Sardonicus, and so we're very happy to come back. Portishead we saw in Spain.
In Spain?
Exactly at Benicassim.
In Benicassim.
At the FIB. In 2011, and that was the thing that changed our life, because after listening Portishead we decided to change completely our style, to remake everything, and we managed a festival in Italy for many years, and when COVID arrived we stopped the festival and Pinhdar was born. And Pinhdar is a fusion between trip-hop and dark wave or new wave, it depends. But we have many influences, but maybe it's in our...
We don't even know our influences.
We don't even know because it's inside. It's something that after many, I mean...
It happens a lot that people name us bands and guitar players, singers that we don't know. But you sound a lot like him. You sound a lot like him. But
For instance,
actually we don't know all these bands.
For instance, Cocktail Queen many times. Cocktail Queen for the vocals, maybe because some of Elizabeth Fraser. The artwork of our album, Sparkle on the Dark Water, is made by James Johnston. That is a painter, a dark painter, very famous in England, and it's a much more famous musician because he plays with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. He played with PJ Harvey, he's touring with PJ Harvey, and he's the founder of Gallon Drunk. So it's very famous. But when we were in Bristol and we were recording, we had the chance to meet him, and he asked him if he wanted to sell his painting for us, and he said no, you too, and then this is for your music. So we had the cover of our album.
I first came to the Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus festival, I think in 2013, because I was a fan of the Bevis Frond and I saw they were playing this small festival in Cardigan in West Wales, and I thought, well, I'll come here and see what it's about. I really knew nothing about it, but I discovered this fantastic 3-day festival full of local and national and international musicians, all of whom are really, really good. So I discovered new music that I didn't know existed before, and I've been coming ever since. I think it's a fantastic festival. They're friendly people. All the musicians are easy to talk to. They're approachable. They want to talk to you. And the people who run this festival are just human, really. They're just part of a big family. So I've been coming here ever since, and it's my favourite festival, even though it's only a tiny festival with maybe up to 150 people who come. So last night, the headline act was Pinhdar from Italy, who are very, I don't know how, it's very difficult to describe the music for some of these bands because they're truly original. But it's kind of dreamy, electronic music, very psychedelic at times. And yeah, I really enjoyed them. And Elfin Bow, voice of an angel, beautiful singer, fantastic singer. And Babel, however they pronounce it, nobody's sure. But again, it's so nice to see them back after the problems they've had over the last few years. And again, a wonderful show. Today, looking forward particularly to Custard Flux and also the Groundhogs later tonight, Ken Pustelnick's Groundhogs. And tomorrow, Astralasia and a whole host of other bands as well. Moon Goose. Love it. Just fantastic festival.
I'm Tristan. I've been coming to these Sardonicus festivals for a number of years. It's not too far away from where I live, so it's a great place to come to. I came to one of the first precursors of this, Crabstock, as a taster because I wanted to see Sendelica, who are involved in organising the festivals, and I was completely blown away by them and all of the bands that were playing at the time. I think there was Kerry Grace, I think Gregory Kirby from Custard Flux was also there, and it was just a brilliant weekend, and I vowed to come back a number of times. So when the Sardonicus Festival started, I continued to come down and visit. This year I'm particularly happy to see last night Pinhdar from Italy, who travelled all the way here and put on an excellent set with lots of tracks from their new album. I'm also looking forward to one of my favourites on Sunday, which is Moon Goose from the Welsh English borders area, bringing their own brand of psychedelic fun and frivolity and lots of really cool and groovy music. It's not just the music, it's the chance to see people who come every year to the festival and just catch up with things and sort of find out new music acts as well. With the goodie bags that we get from Keith at Fruits de Mer, you get taster CDs of lots of different acts who I wouldn't otherwise have come across. So it's always good. Unfortunately, it leads me to spend lots more money on lots more records, but there's nothing wrong with that anyway. I was too young to see Spacemen 3 when they were gigging live back in the 80s and 90s, but however, when I went away to university, I had the chance to see Spiritualized a few times, which was Jason Pierce's band straight after Spacemen 3. They were excellent and really enjoyed seeing them, and I got to meet Jason and Will Carruthers from the band they were playing. And then a few years after that, I got to meet Pete Kember from Spacemen 3 as both Sonic Boom and when he was touring with his band Spectrum. I saw them in Liverpool and they were really good, and Pete took a few minutes to sit and chat with everybody, sign CDs and records, so I think various both Spectrum and some Spacemen 3 CDs I got signed by Pete, and he was just a really outgoing and giving guy. Really enjoyed sort of meeting with him. I also got on that occasion to see a band from Cumbria called The Lucid Dream, who were supporting them. They were a new band at the time, and I went on to follow those for a few years afterwards, seeing them live a couple of times and getting all of their albums. Unfortunately last year they released their final album, which was as good as the first, but I have sort of Pete Kember to thank for introducing me to that band as well.
This is my death in society. This is my death, the only peace that I
I'm Curvy from the band The Luck of Eden Hall. We're out of Detroit, Michigan in the United States. A couple of our members live in Chicago, so we're basically Detroit and Chicago band, but I live in Detroit, so the psychedelic scene there, to tell you the truth, we're not really much of a part of that. We don't play a lot of shows in the United States, but the scene in Chicago I was a little bit more involved with bands like the Red Plastic Buddha, and in Detroit there's Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor. Quite a lot of really good bands in the Midwestern area. About 20, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I got contacted by Fruits de Mer Records to work with them on some projects, which blossomed into a wonderful relationship. And now we're here at the festival in Cardigan, the 20th Dream of Dr. Sardonicus Festival, with a lot of Fruits de Mer fans and a lot of Fruits de Mer bands. It's a lot of fun. The music that I was raised on, or that inspired me to play music, would have been the early things like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Pink Floyd. When I write music, I'm inspired by many different things. But right now, I'm more focused on progressive and psychedelic music. I've been an Anglophile, I guess, my whole life. I've always liked the English bands. I grew up on Yes and Genesis, Pink Floyd, I said before. And then later on, I discovered Soft Machine, Hawkwind, and Gong. The early incarnations of Gong. And right now I'm really into the new incarnation of Gong. Their last two records are my favorite records. I like blending time signatures and jazz chords with rock power chords to kind of create something different and new. And that's what Custard Flux is. It's a blending of all these things. I never realized until this trip that Gong was formed in France. So that, you were talking about his influence with his bands in Catalonia, in Spain. And a lot of my friends here that I met are within this Gong family. I've worked with Gong or played with Gong. We had dinner with the keyboardist that played with Steve Hillage. And Mike Howlett was at Cozfest, right? And my friend Carrie Grace plays with these guys, and her husband was involved. It's just this kind of big family. And I feel that we've kind of fallen into that because we played with Kavis Torabi, who's now the frontman of Gong, as most everybody knows, right? Tonight we're gonna play almost all the songs on our new record, Einsteinium Delirium. And there's two songs that we'll play from Phosphorus. But we've electrified them because when I first started Custard Flux, everything was acoustic. A pump organ, saxophones, violin, stand-up bass. Didn't sound folky or jazzy. I still tried to make it sound like a progressive rock. We found it was very difficult to do that live. Guitars don't cut through very much. And people nowadays aren't used to, when you go to a rock club, they're very used to working with electric guitars and things. When you bring in a pump organ, they don't know where to put the microphone and there's feedback problems. We just decided that we're gonna play electric now. The first album that I did was called Helium, under the Custard Flux moniker, and I played everything on it because I had just moved to Detroit from Chicago and I didn't know any other musicians. I played everything on that record and it did quite well. So then I found my friend Tim Prettyman lived near Detroit and he plays stand-up bass. So he told me his son played violin and we got together and made a record called Echo. So that was Tim Prettyman on stand-up bass, his son Walt on violin, and then I played just about everything else on there. The third album was during COVID, and we couldn't get together, so everyone recorded their parts separately. But on that album I brought in Vito Greco, who an old friend of mine, who had played on a Luck of Eden Hall album. So Vito Greco played guitar, and Tim Prettyman did stand-up bass. His son Walt played violin. Mars Williams from the Psychedelic Furs played saxophone, and I played whatever else on there. I played the drums on that whole album, guitars, and sang and did that stuff. Phosphorus was the same pretty much lineup, except we didn't have Walt on the violin, but it was Tim on bass, Vito on guitar, myself on guitar. Mars Williams played saxophone. On this album I knew I wanted to do something different, the new album, Einsteinium Delirium. And so not only did we all decide to play electric instruments, and I found a drummer, finally, awesome drummer, Nick Pruitt, but we made it a concept record as well. So it's kind of based on the discovery of the nuclear bomb and other things that happened around that time. It's not actual history, it's my own, concept of these things or inspiration. So living in Detroit is a very inspirational place because of the musical history from there. I mean, all of the music that I grew up on the radio, most of it came out of Detroit. We used to hear MC5 on the radio when I was young. Of course, Bob Seger and all the bands that were pop bands. SRC, Scott Richards' Case, was a fantastic band. They might have had one hit. I never heard it when I was young, but they were from that time period, right? A lot of bands. And then you had the Alice Cooper Band moved there, and Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter, who played in Frost, and then, I know Dick Wagner did, maybe not Steve Hunter. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, two amazing guitarists that went on to play with Lou Reed and Alice Cooper and Aerosmith Records, and Detroit has a lot of history. And then you had the whole Motown history. I recently went to the Motown Museum and learned that they had a board of musicians, and anyone who wrote a song the song had to go before this board, and they had to okay it. So it had to pass some criteria. I don't know exactly what all the criteria was, but it had to be uplifting and happy music. And that's why when you listen to Motown music, it makes you happy. I mean, there's nothing depressing about Motown music, right? So you had all of that in Detroit. And then, of course, Jack White and White Stripes. There's just so much going on there. It's pretty awesome to live there.
name's Pete, and I'm the organiser of the Dr. Sardonicus festivals, which basically entails that I book all the bands, and I pair the bands, and I decide on the running order over the 3 days. And we've always tried to get a mixture of some of the older bands and some of the newer psychedelic bands on the same bills. And it's always worked really well over the last 10 years. We've had a lot of kind of my heroes that have played over the years. People like the Groundhogs and Man, Nick Turner, Space Ritual. And we've had some of the members of Guru over. And it's been an absolute pleasure to do for these last 10 years. Last night we had what became Ladies' Night, and that was that we had 3 bands that heavily featured female vocalists. So we had Babel to start the proceedings last night, then we had Elfenbohr, and then we had a band from Italy called Pinhdar. And it was a really, really good evening. It was really enjoyable. And tonight we have DJ Benware, then we have a band called Behind the Sun, then from America we have Custard Flux, and then we have Ruben's Daughters, which is a 7-piece kind of surf psychedelic band. Then we have Sandelica, and then we have the Groundhogs. Then tomorrow we have a DJ set from Astral Magic. We have a Welsh band called Spooky. Then we have another Welsh band called the Mascot Moth. Then we have a band from Finland called the Fertility Cult. Then we have another band from Wales called Moon Goose. And then what I'm really looking forward to is seeing Australasia, the Mushroom Band, who are going to finish the festival tomorrow night. So I'm also the guitarist in Sandelica. And we've recently just done the last instalment of a quadrilogy of albums, which has really basically been about mankind. So the first double album was called And Man Created God. The second one was One Man's Man, which is about how people just can't really, scientists just can't really decide what makes a man a man. And there's very kind of dubious grey areas. And then we did Man, Myth and Magic, which is kind of looking at man's religion and how we turn myths and magic into realities. And then the final installment is Requiem for Mankind, and it's basically about the future of mankind. Will we go one way or will we go the other way? Will it be the end of mankind, or will we evolve into something much more beautiful?
Stelnick, Groundhogs drummer, and pleasure to talk to you. Now, as some of you will know, but not everybody, the Groundhogs were really a three-piece band at the height of what we were doing. And so we had Tony McPhee, who everybody knows, Pete Cruikshank, the bass player, myself on drums. Tony McPhee was a very, very different guitarist. People tried to make out he was the British Jimi Hendrix, but that was rubbish anyway. So, but he was very, very, very different and very good. So what we would say is that lasted all the way through from, I'd say, really the time when we were in the public eye would have been from about 67 and probably to about 72, and then there was problems with, you'll never believe this, with the Mafia and the Cray Gang in London, and we got taken over by that, but I didn't get taken over. So now I'm put the band back together in its sort of, I'd say, early 70s phase more than anything, and therefore you'll hear a lot from us from Thank Christ for the Bomb, Split, and Who Will Save the World. And what people don't realise is how early that stuff is, and some of the lyrics now, people are only just discussing the matter that we were putting over. We've got lines like you can't take floods of plastic mud. Now, you know, to us, we knew what we were doing, and a lot of the people we meet can't remember the lyrics, but they remember the music, which was meant to be the backing for the lyrics. So that's where we got to. So as I say, it's great to be still doing it, because a lot of the bands that are from that time play just really their top songs, but we don't. We play songs from the albums, and a lot of what we're doing is actually improvising, so that you could go and see us 3 times, and twice we might sound pretty much the same, but the third time we can be completely different. We play to the acoustics of the room, you know, we're at the mercy of the sound engineer and stuff like that. So this is what we're doing, and we're keeping it going, and there's a lot of American people who understand us now. They didn't so much at the time, but that went for a lot of British bands and a lot of European bands. So, but we were all mixing with people like Can and I'm on Duel 2, and we did lots of stuff with them, and that was really where we were at. But we were the sort of blues infused version of them. So it wasn't like the krautrock rock stuff, but that's what we did, and I think it's good to keep it going, because you know what we said and did then is now more relevant than it's ever been. I started a sort of very strange instrumental, I don't know what you call it, heavy jazz rock band, but it wasn't like the classical, ever so musical. It was very weird music, and I took away a bass player, so I don't want a bass player, and to sort of could concentrate on more weird things on the kick drum. It was just, and we had some of the first computers. But first you couldn't play chords. You could just play notes.
Yes,
you know.
notes.
And that
it's electronic album.
Yeah, and so what happened was I got 2 girls in who were classically trained, one on the viola and one on the violin, because all the bands, if they put strings in, always had violin and cello.
Violin and cello.
Or upright bass and violin.
Yeah.
And I thought, what we need is the keyboard hand is the bass. So we don't need a cello end or anything. And then you've got this lovely thing. So we did that sort of music, and one of the girls ended up in Dexys Midnight Runners. She became the girlfriend of the leader of Dexys Midnight Runners, and then she went to Ireland, and now she's gone back to them. Okay. It's really crazy. So I'm hoping we bump into them on the circuit.
What do you think?
It became a limited company.
Okay.
And so we were the directors, and the manager was a salaried person. He didn't take a commission,
Yep.
he didn't take money, he got X wage from results. So he was then the company secretary, and the three of us players were the management of it. So people didn't think people like us did that, but we were always a little bit kind of
more
ahead
friendly, more between friends.
A lot of bands were trying to...
No contracts, it's more between friends.
No, what it was, a lot of bands were frightened that they dressed to be with the crowd, and they talked as if they were with the crowd, and we just went out and tried to make it difficult music successful. So we needed almost like very professional thinking, which that was it.
This is your so have a rummage. Sounded good, sounded good. There's your reference ticket. Can coolers. Yeah, I can tell, yeah.
You get the pack with it if you want it.
Oh, right.
Okay.
I bought one,
It's slightly different. That's the promo to the LP. It's the same music.
So what is this poster?
You've got a signed poster by the band and A3 print, full prints, the sleeves they didn't want to use.
Completely happy with these selling out there.
A few test questions there. You attach the label and then the piece
Okay, my name is Guido Stoik. I'm from Belgium. I'm a huge music fan and collector of music, mainly folk, rock, psych music from different countries. I like a lot progressive music from the UK from the 70s. You always go back to the music of your youth, soundtrack of your youth. I collect a lot on label, Vertigo Swirl, Down, Decadera, Harvest, and so on and so on. My favorite bands of Belgium from that time are Matt Curry, Irish Coffee, certainly. Gosses was very good, Pinhdar, which was more blues music, and there are several ones. I have quite a large taste in this kind of music. Concerning UK groups, progressive music, I like a lot the Moody Blues on Deram and Threshold. Pink Floyd, of course, is one of the favorites, certainly the Syd Barrett period I'm very fond of, but also the later albums, of course. Caravan is a favorite. Young with David Allen. Of course, I liked a lot, who was also in Soft Machine, another Canterbury band, also quite good, and so on. There are many groups. Perhaps my taste is a little bit too broad, because at the moment I have 35,000 vinyl albums from, of course not all progressive music, but some labels like Vertigo Swirl UK, for example, I'm complete. I have all of them. Deram Decanova, I have complete. I'm now completing a few other ones like BNC, Sovereign, and so. These groups I'm now, and albums I'm now collecting and trying to get complete. We are now in Cardigan. This afternoon there was a record store here, and again I found some nice albums on Harvest, on Vertigo Swirl, and on another label that I collect a lot, Charisma, Pink Scroll, Genesis of course, and on the Graff. Many years ago I read an advertisement in a magazine about a record label that was called Bracken Records or Fern Records. It was led by Andy Bracken, and it got very good reviews. So I said, okay, I order all 10 7-inches of it. I ordered it with Andy. They arrived over 3 days in different parts, and some were missing. I contact Andy again, and a very friendly guy, and immediately he sent back everything again. That was Andy Bracken and Fern Records. He stopped up with Fern Records, and together with the guy, Keith Jones, a friend of him, he started a new label, Fruits de Mer Records. And from the beginning I said I have to help these guys. These are too friendly. The humor was very important in the label. I ordered from every copy, from every single 7-inch or album that they will bring out, I will order a few copies. And I start doing that, and they were very thankful, because in the beginning they only sold a few 10s or 20 of each copy. That became bigger and bigger. It was extremely good. What they did was taking very famous prog and psych numbers, and groups from now, they played it and they made recordings of it. So very well-known numbers sung and played by new groups. It became more and more important. It was very much fun because they brought out on different colors everything. In the beginning sometimes a mixture of sometimes 10 colors. I have the first album of Fruits de Mer, I have perhaps in 8 or 9 colors I have that one. It was just nobody was interested in vinyl, so the record pressings were very happy with every form of pressing that they could get, and they used all the rest of their vinyl, so you got it in many colors. Then they started to make gigs with the bands of Fruits de Mer. First they did it in London, together with Megatodo, another reissue label. I went there a first time and it was big fun. It was really very nice atmosphere and so on. Then Sandelica, one of their bands, started the festival here in Cardigan. First under different names, but from 7 or 8 years ago, they start using the name of the Dream of Dr. Sardonicus Festival, based on the famous album, The 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus. What's the name of the group again? From that American group? Spirit, from the group Spirit. And now we are already in the 20 Dream Festival, and I was on every year I went to the festival. You become friends with everybody you see here, always the same people, all interested in the same music from 60s, 70s and so on, and the really old bands like Men, like the Groundhogs and Haugwind, some people from Haugwind are coming back and playing here. And that's very nice.
Well, today, and the band that who's on last is Australasia, and of course Australasia are also linked to the Mushroom, who are also on as part of a double header, and of course Mark Swordfish is sort of instrumental behind those bands, along with in the past Magic Mushroom Band were also related. All of these bands sort of are linked together and have released some great music over probably the last 30 to maybe 40 years now, thinking about it, because I think one of the earliest Magic Mushroom Band albums must have been about 1985. London Underground are another band. They're not on this year, but there's this special edition that has been released through Fruits de Mer of the live gig from last year. That was a stunning gig, all instrumental, sort of progressive rock type typical of the late 60s, early 70s sound. The band are from Italy, and last year when they played, they actually had a guitarist that hadn't actually played with them because their normal guitarist was not available, and it was just stunning to actually see somebody play along with music that they'd rehearsed but obviously not played together regularly.
So the first release that I worked on for Fruits de Mer Records was for a band called Custard Flux, who are also the Honey Pot, and I did the designs on their first 2 singles, I believe, and then since then that's how I got to hear about Fruits de Mer Records, and Keith's been coming back to me for any projects he needs any help with. I'm also working on at the moment a book for the limited edition of the next Sendelica album. So I'm putting the pages together. It's not actually my artwork, but you know, it's what I enjoy doing. Really looking forward to tonight's gig. Going to see Moon Goose, who I really like, and also Australasia Mushroom Project, who is a band who I've also do artwork for. I've done the last few Mushroom album covers, and also done the next one. It's not come out yet. And I've also worked on some of the Australasia album covers with Fruits de Mer. This is what I bought today in the shop, the London Underground. I saw them last year, they was absolutely amazing, and they brought it out on CD and vinyl now. I did actually help out putting this together, putting the graphics in. It wasn't my design, I just reproduced it again for Keith, but that's part of what I do.
Introducing our new keyboard player, the delightful Mr. Ellis. He's been with us for about 4 rehearsals. We haven't played for a year, so we'll see how we go. you.
The relationship we have with Fruits de Mer is that when we started, we didn't have a label, so we started doing just small releases, like self-releases, DIY, and eventually sent something to Keith. We loved the concept and decided to sign us to release our first album, Source Code, that was in 1917, I remember, 2017 maybe. And after that we've done basically album after album with Fruits de Mer Records. It's been a pleasure to work with Keith because he gets our music, I think, and he's got the right audience for us. But aside from that, the beauty with Fruits de Mer is the Festival in Cardigan, which happens twice a year, and it's like the fourth time. Yeah, we're playing.
But we love it here. It's our sort of pilgrimage, part of our annual routine, I think.
The beauty of it is that it's the audience of the festival, the audience of the label. So it's really our crowd, and they really get us. So every time we've come here, we've been very, felt very welcome. It's really nice to be among friends, basically. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So, what's the community? What do you think about this community? Incredible community are here in
the festival, you mean?
Yes, in the Cellar bar.
Yeah,
in the Cellar.
Yeah,
what do you think the community, the people who came
I think,
here?
Yeah, it's very special. I think it's like nothing else. Yeah, I think now that we've played in Wales quite a few times, it'd be nice to go further away, further abroad, and I think we'd love to play in Spain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be quite amazing to find a few festivals over there. And
Could you name some psychedelic bands actually are playing? Psychedelic from the 2000s? That play like Jules, some other like Kikara, Mojo, Australian band, American bands. Could you name some other bands in this style? Psychedelic?
Well, to be honest, what we do, like in terms of what we do, we've been compared a lot to Pink Floyd. So it's not really a band from the 2000s.
No. We are talking about new bands that play psychedelic.
They're not too new, but we did a gig with Acid Mother Temple.
Yes. Acid Mother Temple.
We played quite a few times.
I already know.
It
reminds me of Taj Mahal Traveler. Amazing.
We played with Ecstatic Vision quite a few times. American band, quite good, very intense.
Which one? American one?
Ecstatic Vision.
Ecstatic Vision.
Yeah, really good. And 10,000 Russos were quite good. It's Portuguese band.
Have you seen? Have you listened Kikagasu Mojo, Japanese?
Oh, they're amazing.
Minami Dodge.
They're like my favorite.
There are jigging around Europe and USA also. Babies From, maybe you have played with Babies From. Babies From.
Yeah, we played. Yeah. The good thing with that festival is that we've played with Groundhogs a few times. Man was supposed to be here this weekend, didn't happen, but quite a few bands. It's just it's a nice lineup.
So what do you think the next coming band after last year? At your college? Have you listened to them?
Magic Mushroom Band from the 90s.
Yes, there is a Magic Mushroom band.
But
later converts to Mushroom and later Australasia, but it's the same band. So.
We're looking forward to seeing them now.
Right then. Well, I've really come here to see Australasia. Australasia stroke Mushroom. So I think Australasia were here for the very first Fruits de Mer festival back in 2013, and they were great then and they're great now. Record-wise, what have I bought record-wise? Do you know what? I'm not going to buy any records until the very end because they all get smashed up. Yeah. So every time I bought a record here, I either lose it or I break it. So I buy all my records at about 11 o'clock tonight. I'm hoping to get some Australasia tonight. Yes. But we've got the goodie bag, so I have to drive back to Oxford tomorrow morning, and the goodie bag has about 20 CDs in them, and by the time I get back to Oxford I will have listened to most of them. And I probably won't listen to most of them ever again after that, but yes, I've got 20 CDs to listen to on my way back to Oxford tomorrow. Yes.
Could you name it, which band did you saw last Friday and which band did you saw yesterday?
I tell you what, on Friday I saw Elfin Bow. They are very laid back, folk, very quiet were trying to play, there were two very loud people shouting to have a conversation, and I'm thinking, these people are playing some beautiful music. Now, I don't really like folk music, but it was beautiful music, very sweet, very quiet, and all the rest of it. And all I could hear were these two people shouting. I don't know if it's a British thing, I don't know if you have this problem in Barcelona, but what happens is some people, they feel like if you went to the opera, or if you went to a symphony or orchestra or something like that, you would sit in total silence. We all would. But here in Britain, at a rock gig, everyone wants to have a chat. And the thing is, if they turn up the volume for the PA, so the bands can be heard, everyone starts shouting a little bit louder. So it all turns into a bit of a mash. So anyway, Elfenbow were fantastic on Friday night. Lovely people, lovely young people as well, sort of thing. Playing lovely folk music, but being drowned out by a bunch of pissheads. No, that's it. Do you know what? I will tell the truth. Yesterday, we're all getting old, so I go for a little bit of a snooze in the afternoon, and I thought I'd be able to have a snooze between bands, but as it turned out, when I woke up, it was halfway through Sendelica, so I thought, okay, we'll miss Sendelica. I've seen Sendelica several times. I've seen them here, and I've seen them at Cosfest, which is another festival just like this. I thought, no problems, I'll see them again sometime. So I thought, right then, I'm going to carry on snoozing until the Groundhogs come on. But then I woke up again, and by the time I woke up again, it was 1:30 in the morning, and I'd missed the Groundhogs as well. There you go. And I've never seen the Groundhogs. They've been around since the 70s. I've never seen them, and I may never see them at this stage. I missed everything yesterday. Okay, well, I really got into the psychedelic thing around in my mid-teens to early 20s sort of thing. In London especially, I'm sure it happened at loads of other places, but we had what was called the Paisley Underground. So you had American bands like the Rain Parade, Green on Red, that sort of thing going on. And in this country, we had, just to beat everybody off the planet, we had the Spaceman 3, the most fantastic psychedelic rock band. They were so cool, it was aching. They were aching cool. And there was very little else going on. We had the 60s, we had the 70s, and in the 80s there wasn't a huge amount going on. In London we had a nightclub called Alice in Wonderlands. I don't know if you ever heard of Alice in Wonderlands, but it was fantastic. In a place called Gossips in Dean Street. If you ever go to Soho, right in the middle of London, there's a little place called Gossips down the little side street, and down the cellar was Alice in Wonderland's nightclub, and they used to do the most magnificent magical mystery trips. So 2,000 people, and this was before the ravers. This is back in the mid-80s, and the rave generation came along a bit later and picked it all up. But in the mid-80s, we'd turn up at Hyde Park Corner, jump onto coaches to go to these magical mystery trips, where you didn't know where you were going, and you'd spend an hour going out to the countryside somewhere. The one I went on, we ended up on the pier in Lowestoft, and it was just all-night psychedelic music. So you had Doctor and the Medics, who weren't really psychedelic, but they were such a good time band. If you know Spirit in the Sky, Gordon Greenbaum, they did the cover of that, but they were fantastic. You had Voodoo Child, which was a sort of Jimi Hendrix covers type band, and all the rest of it. Osric Tentacles and Webcore, who would be like festival type band, free festivals from 1970s, 1980s. Hello! And and then of course, as well as the sort of Paisley Underground thing, which would be more your 60s thing, you had the bands like Hawkwind and Mournblade and all the rest of it, who were the, festival space rock type stuff going on. And they were the ones, they sort of carried the whole thing from the 70s through the 80s and into the 90s. And what we're seeing now, I thought it was all dead and gone by about 2000, and I was in my 40s and getting a bit old, and I was thinking I'd just buy a few records. Then all of a sudden, the whole psychedelic thing just blew up in this country all over again. So we had Liverpool Festival of Psychedelia, 3 days of bands from all over the world, and it's all just kicking off again. It's kicking off in Japan, it's kicking off in South America, it's kicking off, best of all, Scandinavia. The Scandinavians are producing the most fantastic music at the moment, and it's all sort of, we've had a sort of bit of a wave up and down, up and down, up and down, but there's more going on now. So we can talk about the 60s, we can talk about the 70s and 80s and whatever, but the psychedelic stuff that's happening now in 2024, and we'll say for the last 5 years, and hopefully the next 5 years, is the most fantastic psychedelic scene that's ever been. Better than the 60s. That's a big claim, but there you go.
Astralasia album, yeah, Different Kettle of Fish was sort of the cover idea came from I think Keith and me, where we sort of kind of used the nice pair, you know, from Pink Floyd was the kind of inspiration to sort of do something similar to that, because each of the tracks and each of the pictures sort of relate to the tracks on the album. So there is a sort of like a correlation to it, you know, that's kind of... It's mainly all me, but the people on the different tracks were different bands, I think, that contributed to it. So there was mixes and there was other collaborations with other people, but without looking at the record cover again, I can't remember exactly who was on it. So, but I know Peter from Sardonicus, I think, was on one track, and there was other sort of musicians who were on the Fruits de Mer label that contributed as well, and there was remixes that I'd done for Keith for Fruits de Mer that got sort of put in it. So it was a bit like a compilation album. It wasn't sort of intentionally, you know, done as a body of work, if you understand that. You know, it was more like a compilation. Really. Right, so our latest album, which is this, which is on our own label, because ever since we started, we kind of made our own, which we just distribute through fans and friends, not for sale in shops or anything like that. But and the latest one is number 18. We're already doing number 19 now. So number 18, this is, and it's called. What's it called? In a valley of the mind. So, and we only did a few for fans and friends, which we've done with all our other kind of releases as well. Yeah. So it's our way of just keeping it alive, really, rather than just doing stuff with other record labels and then once you've done it, it's out of your hands. So they're like our little babies. Right. We have Dave here, who's guitarist extraordinaire and Mr. Koto player. Yes. Right. Yes. Ryan, drummer, right, and Matt at the back in the hat. He looks after our merch and various other things.
And overall good vibes.
So at the moment we're still waiting for the bass player who's not turned up yet, but he's on his way. And Paul, the keyboard player, is also on his way. So when we get here, that'll be us complete. Yeah. So yeah, a little bit. Most of the sort of. It's a bit more like the kind of what Floyd were doing, I think, whereas the psychedelics comes from within what we're doing musically, rather than actually using lots of latest toys and lots of gear. So it's not like doing electronics, what we're doing now. I mean, it's much more, it's much real, and it's organic, and it's creative. There's a creative intuition.
Yeah, it's about a connection between the musicians rather than everyone play, like. Yeah, that's where it all seems to come from.
There's no set list now. Wow. We use elements, and they always will be an influence, but it's like we're not going to do a Pink Floyd song.
No, I think the truly psychedelic stuff comes from actually just being free enough to just go where your mind wants to go. Yeah. Experiment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Freedom. Yeah. So it's more like jazz now.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit of free jazz at times.
Yeah, it's.
But you don't have sax.
No. You don't have to have sax.
Sax, ni violin, ni
no.
keyboards.
No.
Keyboards, no?
Yeah. He's not here yet. But
so
yeah.
you have with keyboards you could do effects with sax.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Instruments.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Ready to go. Now that I always ask when I'm talking to a camera if I'm holding my stomach in. I can't anymore. I've given up on that. It's big. I'll leave it that way. I love what I do. It's a lovely cafe. It's a lovely little bar downstairs. We do live music. We're a specific live music venue. No live music, no bar. We don't open. But the cafe opens 7 days a week, and I eat here, as you can see. It's a lovely old-fashioned greasy spoon. In terms of music, I've got a real passion for just nice sounds and happy times with good people. So when I first started doing this, going back to 2005, I sort of wanted to do something locally, and there was local friends, local people, local bands, and they all came round. Over a period of time it evolved into something else, and I'd booked Sandelica to play a gig, and they came along, and I thought it was absolutely marvellous, absolutely wonderful. 2012, I'd seen them in a couple of other local places, but down here I was paying attention, and we had this cracking good gig. Absolutely loved it. Very psychedelic. Wasn't really sure what it was, so we talked, and Pete said, Pete from Sandelica said, "Oh, this is sort of classic psychedelia. This is what we do," and told me all about it, and said, just out of the blue, "Do you fancy having a day of it? We'll have a little mini festival." I wasn't sure. I thought, what? I don't know. Well, anyway, he convinced me, twisted my arm behind my back, told me people would come from all over to see good psychedelic music in a nice little venue like mine. And so I was a little bit put off by people from all over. Where they're all coming from? Who are they? Do I know them? This is a local shop for local people, is the attitude I had at the time. But anyway, no worries. He convinced me. We had this gig. We called it Crab Stock. Marvellous. Several bands from around the UK. There was a couple of guys from Europe. We had a long festival starting in the early afternoon and going through to about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was blown away by the people that would come along and enjoy this music and love it. And it was just pleasure from beginning to end at every single level. The next year he said, we should have the 13th Dream of Dr. Sardonicus, is the name he came up with. And I thought, what's this all about? So he explained the Spirit album, the 12th Dream, and the connection to the period and stuff. So I was quite happy really to sort of like give it a go, have another go of it, and we were doing it over 2 days. Yet again, absolutely bloody marvellous at every level, every band, every bit of music, every person that come through the door. And since then it's grown into a family. And starting from the 13th Dream, here we are on the 20th Dream in 2024, and again all the same lovely people coming along. It's like a family, and I just blown away by it. Unfortunately, next year, while the cameras on, I'll make a little announcement here. Keith and Liz are having a little travel. Not unfortunate for them, unfortunate for us, which means we've got no Fruits de Mer connection next year. And Pete fancies a rest, doesn't want to organise. So I said, well, perhaps we could do something. We could have Steve's Box of Delights or something similar, and we'll continue the dream. So I'm going to make an announcement about that later on the stage, but we are going to do something next year. We have got some great ideas, some really surprising stuff has come together in conversation. It's going to be a corker, so pay attention, watch the social media, wait for announcements. Steve's Box of Delights is coming up in August 1st and 2nd, 2025. Thank you. So we've had bands from New York, we've had bands from California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Brussels, different parts of Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, all over Europe. Australia, not forgetting Australia. There's a bloke in the background mouthing Australia, don't forget Fuchsia. What a band, what a marvellous guy. Anyway, yeah, so before we even started doing this, I'd set up a little page called the Cellar Cultural Exchange, and I was hoping that what I might be able to do was bring bands from here, introducing bands from different parts of the world, and perhaps have some sort of exchange, people going over there, people coming over here, and try to work it out in that way. It didn't quite happen, you know, because about the same time I met Pete, and Pete convinced me to give this a go, and here we are, the local shop for local people has become a worldwide community, and I love it.
Conversations, etc.
The 20th stream of Dr. Sardonicus Festival takes place in Cardigan's Cellar Bar from Friday evening through to Sunday evening, August 4, 2024. Headlining on the Saturday night are Ken Pustelniks, Groundhogs, and Valencia Mushroom are closing the festival on the Sunday. Sardonicus from the Welsh countryside plays Saturday night. Moongoose return after their brilliant set at the 18th Street Festival. Custard Flux will be flying in from the USA, Pinhdar from Italy, and the 13th Tour from Finland, making it a truly international event.